Shlomo Furst substituting for Rabbi Reuven Levitt, who's hopefully coming back to Furst in the near future. And we're here at Sama Nafshi this morning. Gemora Shir, Bava Kama, Daf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph. We're starting a new sugya. And again, we're here in Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh, close to the main bus station, so you can take a bus, walk, if you like, you can drive. If you're coming from Florence, we're happy to have you join us as well. Now, the Gemora is going to be going to a new point, but it's going to be related to something which we learned previously, which is going to be seen very clearly from Rashi. But for right now, let's learn the Gemora. Right? You have the Mem Gimel Amud Aleph. Mem Gimel, right? And it's by the two dots. It's 10 lines or so down from the top of the Amud. The last word on the line is Amar. Previous to that was two dots.
Omar Shimon ben Akish, שור שהוא המית את העבד שלא בכוונה פטור מ-30 שקלים. שנאמר כסף 30 שקלים ניתן לאדוניו, והשור שיסכל כל זמן שהשור בסקילה, הבעלים משלמים 30 שקלים. What?
Yeah, one more, a few more.
ואין השור סקילה ואין הבעלים משלמים 30 שקלים.
That's the converse, right? So we have basically two statements. Amrei Shimon ben Lakish, shur shahemes es ha'eved, a shur that kills an eved, shelo b'kavana, without intention. And then there's a patur, there's exemption from the fine of the 30 shkalim that's paid to the owner of the slave that was killed by a shur. As you see from the pasuk, Shenemar Kesef Shloshim Shkalim Yitain La'adonav V'Ashur Yisakel, and as the pasuk says, money of 30 shkalim shall be paid to the owner of the now deceased eved, and the shur that did the attack shall be stoned. So the point that's elaborated upon in terms of halacha from this pasuk, kol zman shashur b'skila, the whole time that the shur is destined to be stoned, habaylim shoshim shkalim, the baylim will pay the 30 shkalim. Conversely, ein hashur b'skila, if the shur is not going to be stoned for some reason or another, in this particular case, because it's unintentional, a shur will only be killed through skila only if it did the attack intentionally. If it's unintentional, like our case, then ein hashur b'skila, the shur is not going to be stoned, and then also consequently, ein habalim mishalim shloshim shkalim, the balim will not then pay shloshim shkalim.
Does anybody take the position, the fact that you're stoning, killing the shur, that's a loss of money to the baal?
Yes.
So why should he have to pay shloshim shkalim in addition, because he's already losing the value of this asset, this boat?
Okay, so we have to.
And is that under consideration at all?
Everything is under consideration.
Well, there's a posting that specifically says you pay shloshim shkalim and that's it.
The payment for the shur that did the damage to the eved, the eved has to be, for the death of the eved, you have to pay 30 shkalim. Now, it's not enough to simply take you have a person who committed murder with a gun, so just take the gun away from him and let him go scot-free. How's that sound? Justice?
Well, if it wasn't intentional.
Well,
maybe
intentionally, unintentionally.
He went out to shoot a deer during hunting season,
right?
And then by mistake he killed.
So we'll take the gun away from him.
Well, in fact, in some
that's a stiff crime. We'll take you won't have the gun anymore.
And in some states, they'll revoke your hunting license.
Okay, but he'll still be held up on manslaughter charges as well. And I don't know, all states, many states, maybe, yes, maybe. In Australia, they have manslaughter. You have to be careful with a gun.
So if he wasn't careful with the gun, therefore he's going to lose certain benefits, rights, and privileges, and the gun is going to be taken away, and the shore is going to be put to death. So
Yeah,
you're
but
saying-
sure. A shore is a potentially dangerous animal. It's big, it has horns, it can be vicious at times, right? So you have to be careful. And even if it's going to do a crime of killing an Eved unintentionally, the shore has to be the damage of Shloshim. Now this is what we have to think about. The Torah only, according to this opinion of Reish Lakish, only requires the skila of the shore if it was done intentionally. Okay, meaning the Eved has died, right? So now, there's a void here. The Eved is gone. So now, normally, if the shore did the goring intentionally, so there'll be a replacement of the Eved with 30 shkalim. So now, what is the halacha in terms of payments? Are there going to be any payments? Meaning, the shore unintentionally killed the Eved. Does that mean that there's no payment for the Eved whatsoever?
No, it's still a loss.
There's certainly a loss, right?
Everything don't pay. There's no paying. There's no tashlum the evidence.
Except Shloshim Skolim. And that Shloshim Skolim, according to Shloshim,
That's
is only going to be
if it's
paid
skila.
only if it's going to be skila.
That's
So
right.
now there's no skila, there's no Shloshim Skolim. So now,
And then I look at when we go back 2 pages back, he ran away to the swamps that we listed yesterday.
yeah.
So he didn't kill and I can run now and do the shochet that we learned this 2 pages before.
Right, then what do you do then if you can if you can check it beforehand quickly, right? So
That's
then
the
it was
whole,
never,
that's the whole body. You never get to a business.
right, never took it to Basin, it was never taken to Basin, it was never taken to Basin, so it's never going to be skila. If there's no skila, then you don't have to pay Shloshim Skolim.
Yeah.
So if you work fast, you can
That's what
save
we
on
did.
all accounts, right?
That's what we learned beforehand. That's the whole mindset.
So the owner of a shore has to know the rules and know when to act quickly. Is that
So kofar will only be if it's a ben chorin. That we'll see next. The next few lines of Gemora we'll be discussing kofar, right? If there was a killing unintentionally and it was a ben chorin, meaning a non-slave. So if a non-slave, a free man was killed, then there's a question of kofar. By a slave, there's no din of kofar. There's din of shloshim, right? But there's a monetary loss that the Baal incurs, whether the shore did it intentionally or not. He's lost his Eved, and apparently there's no payment that has to be made.
Why does there have to be a kesher between the skila and the tashlum of the? What do I care if they kill the parah or not?
100%. Beautiful. That's one of the things we have to try to understand. What is this connection? Besides saying it's a gezeres akasav, you see that, and it's not exactly. It's sort of a drasha from the pasuk. It's not that the Torah says clearly, if the shore is niskal, then you pay shloshim shkolim. That's not exactly the way it says. It says both things somewhat independently. Like if we look at the pasuk, kesev shloshim shkolim yitin la'adanav v'ashor yisakel. So the 30 shkolim will go to the owner of the now deceased slave, and the shore gets skila. So, without the drasha of Reish Lakish, I said you can learn this completely 2 independent halachas, right? If the shore killed the Eved, so you have to give 30 to the owner, and the shore is taken out to skila. And not only that, if you want to say that the pasuk the verse is chronological, I would say give the 30 shkolim to the adon. Regardless of whether the shore is going to be yiskal or not. Let's say the payment was made to the owner of the now deceased Eved, 30 shkalim, and then before the shore had a chance to be stoned, let's say it got hit by a truck, like I said yesterday, right? Fell off a cliff. So you can ask back for the money. You should the owner of the shore should ask the money back because there's no shore niskal here, right? Or could it be kol zman sheshor beskila? Could it be any time that the shore has a din, a halacha, a psak din of skila? Maybe in the end you'll never do skila to it. Maybe it'll get, like I said, hit by a truck and it never got skila. So it had a din, kol zman sheshor beskila. The whole time that the shore has a psak din, a death sentence of skila upon it, then the bailing pays shloshim shkolim.
But no other circumstances.
Yep.
Specific, because it's a pasuk.
That's right. Based on the pasuk. And then ein ashur b'skila, if the shore is not chayiv skila, whether it gets skila or not, that could be irrelevant, right? As long as the shore is on death row, once the shore is on death row, then the baal will pay shloshim shkolim. If the shore is not on death row, the bailim will not pay shloshim shkolim. But then we have the question we asked a few minutes ago. So, is there any payment at all according to your shloshim? Does the owner of the now deceased slave can come to Beis Din? So what are you doing for me? Though the shore is not going to get skila because he did it unintentionally. But how does that help me? I have no slave anymore. There's a damage. So we'll have to see if we can find some portion to speak about that in terms of what, in fact, if there is any other payment due, if the shore is not going to get skila because it did it in this case unintentionally. Right? Now we have another mimer. Let's see the Gemora further. A similar related mimer, which will answer a bit of your question, Roy. Amar Rabba, go ahead if you like, please.
Omar Rabba shows שמית בן חורים שלא בכוונה פטור מכופר שנאמר השור יסכן וגם בעליו יומץ ואם הכופר יושת עליו כל זמן שהשור בסקירה בעלים משלמים כופר.
Yeah, a couple more words.
אין השור בסקירה, אין הבעלים משלמים כופר.
Period. Very good. Okay, so Rabba says, I'm a Rabba. Shur hameis ben chor, the shore that kills a free man, not a non-slave, shlo b'kavana, without intention. Pater, the owner is pater from koifer, which is again the payment of the value of the victim. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, Ashur Yisakel, Kam Ba'alav Yamos. And here, it's mentioned here. The pasuk mentions the shore first, right? In contrast to the Evid, the Shloshim Shel Evid was mentioned first, and then that the shore should get skila. Here, in this case, about a ben chorin, the shore is mentioned first that it gets skila. Right? The shore is on death row. Kam Ba'alav Yamos. Kam, also the Bailim should be on death row. Im kofi yashis alav, that if not for the fact that he has a way out by paying the koifer. So that means, according to Rabbah, kol zman ashur b'skila, the whole time that the shore is on death row, right, the bailim pay koifer. The bailim will pay koifer. Ein ashur b'skila, if the shore is not going to be on death row, because in our case over here they killed unintentionally, Ein bailim shalim koifer. The bailim will not pay koifer.
When you say death row, do you mean awaiting punishment?
Yeah, it's awaiting punishment, and also I would even say I don't know if I have a chance to discuss it fully, but there's a question as to whether or not that needs a psak din or not. Meaning, once it could be theoretically that the shore is considered to be a shore in this scale. Now we see in terms of if you want to do shkita, if you wanted before the base din paskin on the shore, if you wanted to check the shore, then in fact it should be somewhat permissible the meat from the animal. Right? However, once the psak din is rendered upon the animal that it's now going to be chayiv skila, then it becomes asur b'hana. So if the owner would shech the cow, it wouldn't be worth anything to me. Right? So once the shore is going to be stoned, now that whether that is dependent upon the psak based in from our Gemora right now, it's not clear. Okay, could be yes, could be no. Something which we could perhaps try and see a little bit more about it. Okay? So those are the basic...
And you know they never tell the kofir,
Yeah.
if you kill somebody,
Yeah.
you have to say it's a kapara. Kofir is a
kapara.
kapara.
Right.
So why not become that?
So we could ask the same thing by Shoshim Shel Eved, meaning
So Shimei, that's the Bala Bayit doesn't get the money.
they get the money. He doesn't get the money. Yeah. Okay.
You
Well,
lost.
again, it's a kanas. It's a penalty for the
Yeah.
owner of the shore as well. But
Well,
Cooper and
no,
Kapora.
that's upstairs.
Oh, so now, let's try and analyze it just very briefly. The koifer is necessary because there's a complaint against the owner of the shore why he didn't watch his shore hamuid. It's a dangerous, vicious animal, convicted twice of...
That's you adding to the story now.
Okay, well, I mean, to be a mood, okay, if it was Adis and Hosra, so...
Doesn't matter if it was a boy or it's again. Doesn't matter if you killed, he killed.
No, but Kufur is only if it's a mood.
For a moed.
I think it's a Rashi
I think
Mefurish.
if you killed, if
Only
you
more,
killed,
that's only more.
Excuse me?
It's only more is kofir.
Kufur is only by mood,
And
right?
he has a
even if you
Cannot.
killed the first time, he
In
doesn't
I
get.
mean, he had the conviction in based in twice that he did. They took it out of the status of being a town.
It's a minute, he has to be told before this incident or in general, since it's already.
He's been told twice before that his shore has been convicted of
Doesn't
goring
mean
twice,
there's no
and
doubt.
for some reason or other it hasn't been killed. It really should be killed after the first time.
Right.
It hasn't been
It's a
killed,
dangerous animal.
It's
you have to
dangerous.
Take care of it.
and therefore
Yeah,
for
we
not
saw- I
taking
mean-
care of it.
How many ways you can get away from dying? You ran away, or
That's the story. That's the real story. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about kofar.
Yeah.
When you steal a sheep or an animal and you sell it, slaughter it, kofar is up to 4 or 5
That's kefil. That's kefil. That's something else. That's kefil. That's kefil dalad ve'eh. This is koifer.
Oh,
Koifer
that's the
is
same.
something else.
Kapora, what you did, you took away the shema from His Baruch, so you have to pay
Kefil
money for it.
is a monetary fine on certain activities. And kofar is a spiritual
Atonement.
Right, because it's basically, since the owner of the shore, knowing that he has a vicious animal in his hands, right?
It's a responsibility now.
Yeah, I forgot the lashon of the Gemora is by a muad ain to kana el shchita. The only thing you can do for an animal like that is just shecht it. Right? I mean, if a person really, if he realizes he's got a dangerous animal in his hand, he just save himself and a lot of people, a lot of tsaras, and just shecht it, sell it for the meat and move on, right? But this person didn't do it, right? And it went, this vicious animal, and attacked and killed another person. So now there's a complaint upon the owner of the shore, right, that it's killed the third time. So that complaint is registered in Shemayim against the owner of the animal, and they're out for this person. They're in Shemayim, spiritually speaking, this person's in great dire sakana. He's in great danger spiritually, physically as well. So in order to remove this physical and spiritual danger, he has to pay kufar kapar. He has to make a kapar. He has to make a redemption. He has to pay a redemption fee in terms of the value of the victim that is shore killed. By doing that, that somewhat removes the complaint against him, right?
The fees paid to
To the inheritors of the victim. Kofar is paid to the inheritors of the victim. The victim's no longer around, right? And that's why, as we learned previously, the husband will not get kofar from the wife because that was not what was considered muksa. Because the woman, as long as she was alive, there was no kofar. The kofar only came into existence after she was killed by the shore. After she was killed by the shore, he's not the husband anymore. It's only Roy, it's not muksa. So therefore the husband doesn't get kofar. So now, so we can understand it perhaps a little bit like this. When will there be a complaint against the person that he's going to have to try and solve his spiritual problem and physical problem by paying kofar? That's if his cow, his shore, went ahead and damaged and killed intentionally for the third time. But let's say it wasn't intending, he was chasing another shore, right? And it was charging, and it's just as it was going to speared his other shore. Someone stepped in the middle there, and he got the goring
Got
instead.
the gun.
Right? So it was unintentional. So you can't say there's such a complaint against the owner that he should have to pay kofar. Right? There's not such a complaint. There's not such a complaint. The person it was unintentional. The cow did it, or sure, the ox did it unintentionally. So maybe.
What about the other 2-3 times?
Yeah, if you added this time the story now, that
Oh,
is
the
a
other
void
2-3
now.
times.
That's it, we really have. But if you said
He's
it's
a
a void,
mood, right? He is a mood. But
So
this
that's only
but the third time was unintentional. The first two were intentional, right? The third time was unintentional. He didn't mean it. The cow says, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
So what's the story about the Shmira Pluta, the Shmira, this have to be this, if you already have 2 Xim on him,
Right.
so there had to be a Shmira on him, maybe it was
Correct.
maybe so
Right. But that's only. Let's say he was only moored by people. He was not moored by a animal. Now he's chasing after an animal, right? The cow knows that he's going to get in trouble if he kills another person. So he's chasing animals now, right?
So it's all the Balabais' responsibility.
Yeah,
Ultimately, yeah, he's got it.
Don't we say an animal?
Even he is
dumb animal?
Excuse me? I didn't
We say it's a dumb animal.
Yeah, but it's a dangerous dumb animal.
Yeah, and that's the Balabai's problem.
That's the
If he knows that he is a more, then he already twice that what's it called? So
But if he killed 1, 2, 3 times an animal,
Right.
he's only maybe a muad for an animal.
It's a mood for
And then
animals,
the
right?
4th time he kills the person,
So
it wouldn't be a muad for
Hmm?
people.
Right. The Gemora discusses
There's
that.
no kofar on that.
The Gemora discusses that. The Gemora discusses that it kills camels and only kills cats, right? And then it decides to kill a lion. So the Gemora goes through a lot of these discussions.
But what we're saying in the light thing, the animal did this, did that, it's what? Nothing to do with the animal. Because the animal is a dumb animal, doesn't have any data, so it's the owner of the animal, he's the one who has to know all the rules and regulations.
That's right. He's responsible for the shmir. He's responsible for the protection of other people and to guard his animal.
If you have a wild dog, and the dog does damage, that's maybe the nature of the dog, or these special dog, or not a bulldog.
You have a muad killer, like a dog?
There's certain
Muad?
dogs
Yeah, but
dog is always a muad.
There's certain dogs, I forget the name, which are always,
Doberman.
what?
Doberman.
Oh, okay, similar dogs, they're always attacking other dogs and people. So you have to be very cautious, or else, even in common law, you're responsible.
But what doesn't really make sense is why, when it comes to the Evid, if he was killed unintentionally, why should there be a patur from the Shloshim Shel Evid? Meaning, okay, fine, it only is a chiyuv of Shloshim Shel Evid if the shore is a shore niska. It's going to be stoned, it's going to be killed for its crime. And if it's unintentional, it's not going to be killed for its crime. Right? It's not a shore niska who did it unintentionally. So therefore, there should be no Shloshim Shel Evid paid. So, but then the question is, well, what about damage? You shouldn't pay any damages whatsoever. There should be no payment for the Evid that's now lost.
Maybe it's a kanas.
So if it's a kanas,
Soshim's kanas.
so if it's a
There's
kanas,
no monetary payment,
right?
compensation.
Okay,
It's only kanas.
okay.
It's just a fact.
But this slug, when you say that the animal unintentionally causes damage, that's slugging up what we said a moment ago, that's all the responsibility of
That's exactly the question. The question is, if there's responsibility on the part of the owner
That
for his
exists.
animal,
That doesn't
so
change.
why should that change if it's intentional or not? Right? I mean, there's still a damage took place, so there should be payment for the damage. Now, what Rachmim just said, that if it's a kanas, so maybe you can understand a little bit better based on the fact that true, it is a kanas. So that kanas is only going to be in effect if there was an intentional killing on the part of the shore. If it was an unintentional killing on the part of the shore, it could be that we won't obligate, because again, Shloshim Shel Evid, if I'm not mistaken, is usually going to be considered to be more than the actual value of your average slave. Right. Yeah.
Okay, I think this is half an hour.
What do you say? How do you say, Bill? What's on your mind? It's okay.
We can't regard it as stealing. If I take, if slave is killed, it's sort of taking away, so stealing.
It's not like stealing it, but what it is it's a loss. There's a loss, and because there's a loss, there should be some payment. Where do you ever see that there's damages that don't have to be paid because it's unintentional? Now, with the person we say Adam is mud la'olam, so a person always pays, right? You see another concept that if a person goes ahead and hits somebody, so there's nezik, repoi, there's damage payments have to be paid, the payments for the doctor bills have to be repaid, shevish, there's workers' compensation, he didn't go to work, you have to pay for that, there's boishis, there's the embarrassment that took place, right? Boishis is only paid when it was intentional. If a person hit a person unintentionally, right? So you'll have to pay for the suffering, the nezik, and the damages, right? And the tsar and nezik, shevis, the loss of work. He has to pay for those things. Boishis, the embarrassment that was caused, he only pays if it was intentional. Right? So you see, even by Adam, who is considered muad ba'olam, always, or a person is always considered to be a damaging force, because a person has seichel, and he's supposed to be in charge of himself. And he's responsible for himself. And if he's not responsible, he's obligated for his lack of responsibility. Now, so all these things have to be paid except boishis. The embarrassment that's called because if a person hit somebody and embarrassed him, so he's not obligated to pay for the embarrassment if it was unintentional, because he didn't intend to embarrass him. Damages, nezik, he has to pay, even though it was unintentional. Tsar, the suffering, he has to pay, even though it was unintentional. Right? Shevis, the compensation for his lack of ability to work, he has to pay, even though it was unintentional. Right? But the repoi, the damages for the health, to bring him back to his good health, he has to pay even though it was unintentional. But boishis, if it's unintentional, there's no payment of boishis.
How do we define boishis? There's some people who are very sensitive, and they're going to be embarrassed on minor things, and other people.
Right, so that
goes over their head, as they say.
Right, so the Gemora explains it all is in accordance to the person who's doing it and the person who is done to. It all depends. If a king slaps a person in the face, so the person's not so embarrassed because the king can get very upset at very slight things and he's not so embarrassed. Some people are even be grateful to get a slap in the face by the king. They can pay for that. Right?
The king is making him chashuv.
Right.
Right. By the king.
Right, but if the street cleaner, I'm not saying there's I have a great respect for the street cleaner, especially here in Israel, right? But
street cleaners.
Right.
Okay.
No, we have here in Israel people sleep in the streets. Yeah, sure.
But they're not Jews who were learned.
No, they're you should know. No, they're not they're Jewish people, and many of them walk around. They listen to shirim, and they're making a nice, honorable parnassa, right? Yeah. We have great respect for them that they help keep the streets clean, especially in Shalim. They help them keep ear a kodesh. It's parnassa, yeah. It's an honorable way to make parnassa, and they do a very good job. But a person who's not as honorable as a king, if a person gets a slap from a person in the face from a person who's not as honorable as a king, so the embarrassment is much more, right? You go on the bus and the bus driver gives you a schmooze up and down and all around, right? And everyone, the 20, 40 people on the bus looking at you. And so how do you feel?
The bus driver had a bad day. He had a fight with his wife.
How about if you went on the bus and you forgot to pay, and he gives it to you, unless he didn't pay. He said he did pay. I said, I wasn't lost the big price now. He says, okay. He says he didn't pay.
How do you determine that?
He says, where's your cut this?
So I take out my rough carbon,
He says, but at the end, he didn't want to show it to him, but he didn't pay. He wasn't, you get on the bus, you didn't think about it, walk in.
Or it's very crowded over there and you have to.
Buses they can pay with all the doors that you come in.
That's right.
You have to always,
So according to embarrassment, it depends on who's being embarrassed and who's doing the embarrassing. It depends on both, the double factor. Yeah. So it's a sliding scale. Well, the Beis Din has to determine how much the boshus, how much the embarrassment payments have to be. But that's only going to be if it was intentional embarrassment. If it was unintentional, there's no payment of embarrassment.
But if it's a young kid that did the hit,
Right.
and he caused embarrassment to an older person,
Right.
is he liable for this? Or is father liable for this?
No, father's not liable for the damages of his son. However, the halacha is that the son should, when he gets older, should pay for when he gets should pay for his damages. Yeah, that's one of the things. All the money he gets for his bar mitzvah, some of it should be used for the things he caused in his younger age.
I have a story like this.
Does they keep a cheshbon? You keep a cheshbon? When you were
It's a good
10 years
idea.
old, you did something inappropriate, which is childish. That's normal, right? Kids do childish things. That's what we have to teach them as they grow up.
But it's something that if they're trying to, because the Gemora mentions, if I'm not mistaken, that in after Me'as Shana, I think at the time of the Gemora, they were donning him, and the fact that he hurt his mother while he was nursing his mother, they had complaints against him because he wasn't so nice to his mother while he was nursing, and that's obvious as a young age.
I have a friend that he was in like 6th grade, 7th grade, in the yeshiva, in Talmud Torah in the east side. He must be 70 years old. And he explained to me that the windows were, very big.
Yeah,
And like, there was like a step outside. Outside the window, there was like a step,
A ledge.
a ledge.
Sure.
That's the word, a ledge.
Right,
And he didn't like this Rebbe. And the Rebbe walked in one day, and he says, Rebbe, I don't know what he said to him, he says, I'm jumping. All right? And the kid was a Mashiach kid, and he jumped outside. And he cut the ledge, you understand? He was so smart, he thought it was so cool. And the Rebbe saw that he jumped, and he ran down this 4 stories by himself, an old man. And and the whole class was by the window, laughing at him. And this guy, I don't know, maybe until years, he used to run after this Rebbe, and he used to say, Slicha. At the end, this guy, his son committed suicide. Shem Hashem. When he got older. But all the time, he told me, he said, all the time run after the Rebbe. He was always run after the Rebbe that forgot him.
I had the same experience when I was in high school when Yitzhak Khan of PTA was called.
Even a young child. So how old at the time? He was.
He has to be maybe 10, 12 or something like that.
When I was in high school, there was a Rebbe that he was a big Talmud Chacham, and they came from Europe. He didn't relate to American kids, so we used to give him a hard time. So once one of the boys went over to the window and he says, Rebbe, I'm going to jump. The Rebbe didn't know there was what they call a fire escape out there. So the kid went into the fire escape, the Rebbe got very upset, and everybody's laughing, the Rebbe didn't know what's going on. That's how we used to torture Rebbe's back in the old days. Nowadays we don't torture Rebbe's anymore.
No, don't do that.
You know, watch this, you guys don't know how to get
What if the boy curses out another person? That's what also causes, is that
What?
what if he curses somebody?
Yeah.
A boy. He
Yeah.
curses an older man. Is also liable for that?
Yeah, I mean, a person's not. I'll read you the Ramah. This is a Hilchos Shabbos, right? Shulchan Aruch for a Chaim, Hilchos Shabbos, Shin Mem Gimel. The Ramah says, "Agav yesh omin the calls the katan shlo yir lechinuch didn't reach chinuch. Aval yir lechinuch shrichim lahafrushay. You have to stop a child to be mechal Shabbos. Yesh omin the lo shayach chinuch lebeis din. It's not shayach chinuch on the part of the beis din. Elul av levad, only to the father himself. Now, katan shehaka es aviv, of katan, a young child that hit his father, or over al shar averis, or he did other averis bekatuso in his childhood. Yeah, afal pi she'ein tzorach tshuva kishiyigdal, even though he doesn't have to do tshuva when he grows up. מכל מקום, טוב לו שיקבל לו עצמו איזה דבר לתשובה לכפרה. He should מקבל on his part something for tshuva and a kapara. אף על פי שעבר קודם שעשה bar onshim. Even though he did it before he was a bar onshim. He was actually in the time of responsibility. Toivlo, it says Toivlo.
It's a good idea. It's not a fear.
Not if you Toivlo. Mishnah says, Katan Shaganov, a child that stole, or Shehizik, or he did damage. Right? A child that stole something, or he did damage. Right? Roy lebeistin lahakoiso. It's fit that the beistin gives him punishments. Shlo yargubo. He shouldn't become habitual in this. Right? Shechavol v'yoshiv v'kol adorim shebein ad l'chavero beistin mitzurin la'aprisho. Anything that has to do between people, right? I mean, if he's going to be eating nevelis and treifus and things like this, b'chal Shabbos, beistin is not obligated. But if he's going to be disturbing people, damaging people, beistin has to stop him from doing this. Slow year to color al yado. They shouldn't cause damage and destruction to him. Our ain't circle shalem, right? He doesn't have to pay. Im ein haganeva be'ein. If let's say he stole the bubble gum, yeah, he shoplifted bubble gum from the Jewish store, the Jewish candy store, of course, right? So now he ate it up, right? So he doesn't have to pay, but it's not paying. But calls them medina. This is all according to the strict letter of the law. Aleph nim mishuras hadin. According to the higher level, that's responsibility on every person that has seichel, bein shechayvul boy begufa, whether he did damage with his body, or shehizik b'mamono, or he did something through his money. Sorach l'shalim lo, mislim mishur sadin, he must pay the damage that he caused. Taz by Adam became master mihagro. So that's the halacha. Okay, so First Tovus.
The animal who just had a bar mitzvah, I don't have to tell him to go review what you did in the past 13 years, and you have to do tshuva. He said it's a nice thing to do, but it's not a deal.
Right. Unless he.
I don't think anybody does that. In my opinion.
What if he wasn't religious at that time, and then we got older, he became religious?
Okay.
Is that a good thing that like
So
make him patur from all these?
He should, a person, if he has an opportunity to try and do a review of his past behaviors, and if he can do things to make good on it, it's certainly worth. It's only to his benefit to do these things. Yeah.
But is he like a newborn person? So what he did in the past.
But if he gets married, he's mochlim ukol avonot.
Yeah, that's also true. Right, but again, they say by computers, even if you delete all the files, you can still find. They can have ways of digging into get the files, recovering the files. It's still there, right? So if we understand it by computers, we can understand. Don't think that the things that happened in the past don't exist. They do exist. Okay? And if you can make good on them, you're certainly benefiting yourself and other people. Let's say a person stole, he did damage, he embarrassed somebody, so it's certainly beneficial for him and for the damaged people that the things that he caused damage to, and he should make good as much as possible.
He makes good after 120 comes up to Shemayim. Are they going to review that, or it's now a history?
It'll be reviewed.
Okay.
So, yeah, Yom Kippur, which is between Hashem and yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're unable to make any sort of restitution in any way, does that still get covered?
Okay, so there's kapara and there's mechila. Okay, there's two different things, kapara and mechila. So when we say Yom Kippur is mekaper, meaning the let's say the complaint, the charges have been dropped. Right? Yom Kippur means the charges have been dropped. Okay? Mechila means there's been a pardon. You've been pardoned for the crime. So there's pardoning for the crime, and there's also that the charges have been dropped. There's two different levels of things which are occurring here.
So he could get punishment anyway. He didn't get a pardon.
Right. Pardon means
That's
a pardon.
Yeah.
Might have some sort of chance.
Everyone has a chance.